What's good, everybody? AB Media 83 here, and welcome to Debate Night. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. Plan to have some fun tonight. And if I'm not mistaken, the debate should be starting around 9 o'clock. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But once again, I hope everybody's doing all right tonight. And let me go on and put this out. If you want to come up and help me look at this debate, you can do so now. Excuse me. But yeah, plan to cover the debate tonight. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll see if Kamala can convince anybody that, that she can be president. And we're probably going to be looking at the NBC stream for now. But yeah, we're about 10 minutes away from the debate. And once the debate gets started, we'll get the show rolling. First of all, let me present. There we go. That's NBC running their mouths. I'll keep that muted for now. And let's do this layout right here. And we're just waiting for the debate to start. Right now, they're just running their mouths, so it is what it is. But once again, I hope everybody's doing all right tonight. Get your popcorn ready. We're going to see how these two candidates do in this debate. Should be interesting. Let's listen in to what they're talking about for now.
In 2016 or something like that, and that was different.
Well, two things. You've got to feel the room, and it took me several minutes to feel the room, feel the temperature of the candidates. The other thing is, having done a lot of debates, including presidential debates for a long time ago, I would never publicly judge a debate moderator. It is a incredibly difficult job.
A little low. Oh yes, I'm covering the debate tonight. Feel free to come up. This is MSNBC, of course. Let's see what they're gonna do. Let's see. Are they starting? Not yet. When they start, we'll go directly into the debate. You got your mic together, Andre? Got Andre on the panel. I guess he's getting his mic together. So, yep, 9 p.m. There he is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
There's a train going by because they got a lot of trains out here. But the train going by, and I left you a message in the back chat.
Oh,
No need to
okay.
respond. Like, yeah, you seen it. Just, yeah.
What's going on, neighbor?
I'm cool. Wait, Dre, don't you got any headsets on or Bluetooth? Andre?
Yeah, I got that double C. It starts at 9, which is in about 7 minutes.
Oh, okay. What I miss?
Oh, not much. You're about to watch the presidential debate.
This BS. This should be interesting.
Yep, it should. Got 13
Well,
watching. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Hit the Cash App, support the show. Hit the Super Chat, support the show.
well,
Don't forget.
in terms of the debate, the only people that
Hmm.
I seen that was like beforehand gonna talk about it, I seen Angry Man and Cold Breakers who's gonna talk about it.
Yeah, I saw Valdez's stream a little bit earlier.
I wasn't over there. I don't know what he said so far, but I already
Oh, I
I
stopped in the
I
chat
can
and
kind
said
of,
what up. I stopped in the chat and said what up. Much respect.
yeah, I can somewhat tell what his stance is going to be on it, and I don't disagree with him.
Yeah, he leans to the right. It is what it is.
Yeah, he has every right to. He has his views, and he has his opinions, and he has his own views on things. I mean,
On top of the fact
we
he's a
got we.
businessman, so he naturally leans to the right.
Well, that's true. I mean, we got a brother in our space that is Stand Dog, who's also a conservative, but at least
Yeah,
he's righteous. He's honest about it. You know, we break it down and we understood. I mean, he and I, we chopped it up plenty of times. We talk about this stuff. And me, I'm somewhat. I always ask questions. What do you mean when you're a conservative or a liberal or whatnot? You know, because I
yeah,
want to know what you're really about. Some people they
yeah.
don't tell
Let's
me
listen
that.
in for a little bit.
Tom,
All
are you
right.
starting to feel that buzz of energy?
Oh, you do? And guys, I will tell you something I've noticed that is different about this debate. Usually the spin room gets wild and crazy post-debate. What I'm seeing for the first time is pre-debate spin. You've seen surrogates on both sides sort of flank all the reporters, flank all the sets from all the different news organizations and try to get their message out. There was a ton of commotion about 10 minutes ago, and that's because RFK Jr. came into the spin room. Of course, he was the third-party candidate who has since endorsed former President Trump. He was followed by, I'd say dozens of reporters as he walked through the spin room. We're hearing kind of the same things. Both campaigns are disciplined. They are on message. The Harris surrogates are saying the same thing. Former President Trump is the most experienced presidential debater. This will be a seventh debate. And also they want to go over reproductive rights, that a vote for Trump is a vote that will limit abortion access. And then on the Trump side, of course, they're hammering the issue that Vice President Harris is untested. She's only done one big major interview. She's doing no town halls. And also they want to hammer home that they want to put the spotlight, and they hope the candidate does, on the issues of immigration, the economy, and the two wars overseas.
That's a problem. You're not talking to people, but you're asking for their vote. On top of the fact you didn't go through the primary.
Our Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor has been covering the Harris campaign and joins us now. Yamiche, your thoughts tonight as we're just minutes away.
One of the biggest challenges for Vice President Harris is I've been talking to a lot of sources that are familiar with her debate preparations, are how she.
AB, I was in one of those Cold Breaker streams, and like
Yeah,
I actually put out a comment, and I asked, like it was just Paradox at the time, and I asked him, I was like, what are your thoughts on, like, do you think that like immigration, or I can't remember the other point that I asked him, but like specifically I said immigration, like do you think that's going to be like pretty much a game changer in this scenario here, like that can
possibility.
pretty much,
We have
like,
to wait and see.
well, he agreed with me. He actually responded to me, and I was surprised. He responded to me in the chat. He didn't say it on the live, but he responded to me in the chat, and he was like, "Yeah, he thinks that that could be a thing that could somewhat tip the balance, I guess."
Yeah.
Speaking of immigration, was there any references towards Harris's immigrant background? After all, she is a child of immigrants.
Yeah. I haven't necessarily heard anything per se because if I'm not mistaken, she was born here.
Yeah,
So
like I said, born to immigrant parents, born in America to immigrant parents.
yeah. Not really an issue because she was born here, and that's the main qualification.
Well,
At
I
least in my
remember.
opinion, it's not an issue. Keep in mind, I'm not big on the race commentary,
Sure.
because to me that's irrelevant. What are your policies and what are you going to do for us?
Fair enough. Because if you might recall, and the reason I asked this question, because remember, you had a similar debate like this with Obama.
Hmm.
The whole
And
birther crap and everything.
believe it or not, neighbor, to a degree, her being an alleged hoe is not really a issue. But how do you handle yourself? Because there are plenty. Because let's be honest, there are plenty of hoes in Congress and the Senate right now, and not all of them are female. Come to
Oh,
think
you
about it.
have no idea. I mean,
Oh,
Congress
oh,
has
oh!
been
I know,
home.
I know, I know. Congressmen sleeping with people's wives and shit. Oh, I know.
No, 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 no. I don't mean like that. I don't mean like that.
Hmm.
With the lobbying and everything going on, going back to like the silent and boomer generation of and all the other geriatrics you see in Congress, a lot of them are male hoes, and they've been hoes for lobbying groups. Because remember, they've always been like hoeing themselves for campaign contributions, left, right, and
Hmm.
center. But you'd be surprised what kind of sex scandals they all got. I remember, like,
Yeah.
remember when everybody was talking about? Because remember Chris Rock talked about this when they talked about the whole Monica Lewinsky thing. He called out, those Republicans saying, first of all, nobody's trying to mess with you, despite the fact a lot of them had mistresses on the side, but they just try to keep that hush hush.
Wait, name her. Don't talk about Nick Gingrich like that. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oh, wait a minute.
Well, he was among them, but yeah,
Yeah, he left his
nobody
wife that
says
had
shit.
cancer. He had left his wife that had cancer for some chick.
A side chick he'd been cheating on her with. Not to mention his first wife was his high school teacher. He knew her
Oh,
as his teacher in high school, similar to Emmanuel Macron. Only the age gap wasn't that big.
okay.
And then,
Well, it looks like
his
they got.
second wife, he was cheating on her, asked for an open relationship. She said no, he divorced her. Now he's not wife number 3.
Okay.
So let's go.
Yep. Looks like they're about to start. So let's listen in.
Hour now, 9 o'clock on the East Coast here in New York and in Philadelphia, the room where it's about to happen. We're just seconds away now from tonight's first and perhaps last presidential debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump.
As we've noted, this will be the first time these candidates have met in person, and it's happening on a debate stage. Also, the first debate since President Biden left the race over the summer and Harris became the Democratic nominee. A lot has happened in a very compressed period of time.
Yes, it has. And we have a few moments until the debate starts. We will join it. ABC News is broadcasting it, but we will simulcast it right here in its entirety. It's taking place at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia.
And like June's debate, there will be no audience tonight. The candidates' microphones will be muted while the other one is talking.
Well, there's
Each
a
candidate
live
will
audience
get
right
2
now,
minutes
so
for answers. There will be closing
from
statements, but no
multiple countries,
opening
I might add.
statements. So we expect them to probably mix it up rather early in this as they stake out their positions and we get a sense of where all this is going.
And the mics are muted when the other is talking. So let's take you to Philadelphia now. And the first presidential debate.
Homes and housing. And the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time,
Don't
so
forget
that
the
those
oregano.
young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before. which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit.
Yeah,
My
Sergeant
opponent
Faulkner
has a
in the
plan that I
building.
call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things. but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Whose fault is that?
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point. when we know that she was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID?
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. And now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does
Yes,
not
he
have the
is.
right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50, essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea, and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working one or two jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs, barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer
That's
the
problem.
question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there. And then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as the rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from television.
But the people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
That's nothing to be
this
laughing
is,
about.
I think, one of the
Okay.
reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country, and they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people
Vice President
to stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the
Yes.
threat to democracy with a
President
fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
So we have the highest inflation.
My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done. Protecting seniors from schools have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
First of
response?
all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please.
Oh, shit.
Does that sound familiar?
Oh, damn.
She went out.
Right back in her face.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election,
He kept
They'll go
OPEC
back
out
to
his mouth.
destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400,
President
500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues that
things
we
for the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
That's the cop
But we
beating
didn't
to
do
death.
this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. Might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowge that at all.
But
I said that sarcastically. You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders. And we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
no judge looked at it.
And said
they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
Or stay off of Twitter.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that, but he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it, that's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approve the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Okay, what do you want to ask, Andre? Go ahead. Go. You're kind of breaking up, Charles.
Andre, unmute yourself.
I don't know. Maybe I'm just the guy who never had a country.
Yeah, you're borging real bad.
No, it sounds okay. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it might be for certain people, but it's kind of funny. The guy who
I can hear him clearly now. Go ahead.
the guy who was really tough on foreign policy was not the guy that let countries get it like they did. Actually, a lot of world leaders were batshit scared of Trump, so that's the biggest lie. Two, has she ever answered a yes or no question? I mean,
No, she never has. But is it over? Is it finally over? Can we talk?
No, I think they're taking a break. But either way, I look at this. This is no different than any other election. You got two shitty choices, and either way, the American public are collectively fucked. That's my opinion.
Really, Antecedus? Really? Okay.
Oh, well, you know how he is. He's like, yay, she's slay, slay king, slay queen. Yeah, I'm sure he's got his pinky up. He's going,
Oh boy.
You need
that's
to
an
take
AKA reference for those y'all with her.
I think she's winning,
Huh?
right?
I said he needs to take the AKA ski weed peeing out his ass and wake up and realize he is a part of mankind and he should appreciate that fact and quit succumbing to gynocracy thought processes. But I digress.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you this, right?
Salute to the master teacher in the building.
She couldn't
Go
say.
ahead. Go ahead, Charles.
Notice she couldn't say shit about the border. Notice she couldn't say shit about foreign security. Notice she didn't say anything about yes, it's been reported by people of the city in front of their city council about the 20,000 Haitian issue they have. So it's not bullshit. They found it. They have pictures of motherfuckers doing it. Like you have all these places when your fucking policies have abruptly failed. Guess what? Trump's got to eat January 6th. He's got to eat that. Even if you said go peacefully, people are always going to say, well, you galvanized them. Cool. Got to eat that. But not one time did she eat the failures of her administration. And there's plenty. Like, when was one country taken over by another or invaded when Trump was in office? Anybody know the answer to that?
Oh, I do. Can I answer, please? Can I answer, teacher?
Go ahead.
There weren't any conflicts, sir.
Exactly. So when we look at this shit about you want the war to stop, if you want the war to stop, you wouldn't have gave Israel $60 billion.
Ooh.
Last time I checked, I'm not gonna be the bank for your fucking hostilities to defend yourself.
Yeah.
If you want the war to stop. Like, yeah, just like the Afghan. Like, they gotta eat that. Your administration, you talking about Roe v. Wade and what a woman's right and all this other shit, but you never talked about what about a man's wallet? Freely go. Never talk about that.
I might have missed like the last couple of minutes, but AB was asking like my thoughts on this shit because like this is what I've been talking about in the space like since I've been hopping up on panels. This is what I've been talking about. My main issue is like that XL pipeline. That's what Trump is talking about because he wanted to run that shit, and I was wondering why that XL pipeline wasn't running. Can y'all hear me or what?
Yeah, you're fine.
We hear you. We're just listening.
Okay, so yeah, like this is my problem with the XL pipeline because I'm just like this shit should be fucking running right now because like it would be beneficial for both of our countries, right? Canada and the US because like
David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
yeah, we do have a lot of resources
ABC
over
News
here.
presidential debate. here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify,
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he a president? We have a president that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done. Right. Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment. But also,
it's live, baby. It's live,
Andre. How would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch?
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and please, I'll give you a minute here.
So he doesn't get to
Putin would be
respond to the
in
Ukraine
Moscow,
topic. That's crazy.
and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is,
Zelensky is not Putin.
about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about
Calm down, Andre.
democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander in chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. Otherwise, we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. Ooh. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left
AB, please.
$85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment.
It's live,
just to
Andre.
finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal and, in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. Up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first black president of the United States.
He did.
And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this. want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move on
to
to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
going
just need
to move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this is
multiple
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice President Harris,
in terms of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
of... You made a mistake. At number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right. Who was that? Oh, Charles.
Yeah, boy.
I'm so glad I took a good long shit before all of this crap.
This ain't
I
a word.
do a shit.
This isn't a word salad. This is a word force.
It's two vegans. It's all just word salad like a motherfucker.
She didn't fall on her face, so there's that. So
yeah.
Even though she lied like a motherfucker, but
she might be. But the thing is, it's really even not about the information. It's about whether she can actually hold up under debate and not melt down. So at least she can kind of hold herself together. So I don't know why they took so long, but she didn't fall on her face.
She needed to prep.
Needed to prep, but it's like I think his timing is everything. I mean, like take boxing for example. You remember like after Sugar Ray lost the belt to Durant, how soon did he get a rematch?
Okay, boxing and politics are not the same thing. Okay, so timing. Okay. She should have came out the door swinging. Okay. The thing is that there was so much put on this debate, and really all she had to do is not fall on her face, for the most part. But I understand what Trump's trying to do. He what he's doing is getting all this propaganda out, and that's what she allowed him to do.
She's like giving him all the rope.
Well, the thing is, he's interjecting just like the one about Springfield, right? Okay, people don't think that's a big thing. She laughed about it, but then that's not something they wanted out, because that's anti-immigrant, and those stories are just starting to bubble up, and those things that will be big. So he's planting seeds right now.
Well, what the thing is like what I've seen, like just like watching this whole thing. The whole conversation, it was like basically like every time he tried to talk was basically you said this, but let's move on to this next point, and then she got to
Yeah, he made a couple
argue.
mistakes. Yeah, we'll get to that.
I mean, he's in hostile territory, and I think I don't think she got under his skin. I think is the moderators got under his skin more
Yeah,
than anything. So
Yeah,
I think he got pissed off because they were allowing her to rebut, they weren't allowing him to rebut. I think he was getting pissed off about that. So I
yeah.
think what she needs to hold is cool. I don't think she bothered him that much. You know, for the most part, I think it was the moderators that got under his
right.
skin.
Well, the moderators are also supported by like the people behind her as well, right? Because
Well, the
if
whole
you look down the line, yeah,
all the press is basically, for the most part, is on her side, so they're going to be favorable. But he wanted a debate. He knew he was walking into enemy territory. But the thing is that a lot of people are going to say he's rambling, he's babbling, but he's actually sending out dog whistles to people that, you know, just like I said, the biggest thing I said, I'm surprised that they allowed it in. Right, is about the dogs being eaten in Springfield. Okay, that's going to
Yeah,
be
I'm
big.
surprised they allowed that in too.
That got in, and that people don't realize how big that actually
Well,
is gonna
that's
be.
why they tried to hush him up.
They've been talking about that. Mr. Z was talking about that earlier this morning. Texas reckless speed.
The thing is, whether it's, and it doesn't matter well, it actually is true because I did play the city council meeting where they're actually complaining about it, and they're gonna find out that it's actually true. And it's a small thing, but the thing is, it's gonna, with white people, just seeing that's gonna explode.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the thing, right? Because like Trump actually made like a point that like I completely agree with, and I've told you this multiple times, BGS, and I've told you
What multiple times about what?
like about that XL pipeline, and he brought that up again, and he's been bringing that up. Like
He's
I've
got
been telling you that.
the XL pipeline is basically dead. Okay, is basically dead is because the courts won't allow it to be turned on. Okay, so Biden pretty much just gave up on it. But the thing is, this is politics. Okay, he couldn't turn it on. He couldn't turn it on. Biden couldn't turn it on either. Go ahead. Turn it
We'll
up.
break it down as we enter the final sprint to Election Day. We'll go back to the debate and closing statements.
Live from the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements, and Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
All right. Thoughts, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Not really surprised.
This is the point that I've been trying to drive home, and like Trump has been trying to drive this point home as well, and he's been doing it for years. It's just nobody's listening. It's just the fact that he's been trying to do the XL pipeline stuff, because like what you guys don't understand is that Canada has the second largest landmass on Earth, and like for oil, like in terms of resources for oil, like we're up there, like, but you know, like you guys already know, like Canada is US's bitch, so like we're gonna follow along with what you guys do. But like just this whole siding with all these other people shit, like we're not with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
right.
that I don't care what nobody.
Go ahead, Charles.
Word forced, it's a word salad. When you're trying to be favorable to a person, and that is a good question. Why didn't you press to get it done? You're sitting at the right hand of God. You could have got that shit done. But what you have done was you hid yourself for 3.5 years. 3.5 years you hid away. You held at the border. You failed with Israel. Now, coming home to roost. When you tried to suppress the news of 20,000 people immigrants coming to towns, taking over blocks, eating and stealing people's fucking dogs and cats, leaving trash and disgusting. Like, what the fuck are you doing? You're allowing third world behavior to exist in a first world country. You talk about the military presence, but you make the military look weak. You got to go by what the person's record was. Like, here's the fucked up part that I tell fucking Harris supporter. If I could be very honest about Trump and say his first 2 years were shit, but his last 2 years were pretty decent, tell the Kamala have.
Apart from COVID, but yeah.
Well, Can I please respond to Passport OG?
During the COVID. So it's the fact of the matter. You're not going to hear a lot of people say, "Okay, here's where Harris is weak." You gave us a plan without giving us a plan. You had none. They want to talk about Obamacare. Obamacare taxed the fuck out of people. When you have a healthcare plan, yeah, you gain $400 fucking dollars, but they tax you $350. So you're getting taxed even more, penalized even. They don't want to mention that Trump actually stopped that penalty.
Can I respond to Passport OG? Can I do that?
In a minute. In a minute.
All right, good.
Your thoughts, BGS?
I thought she didn't fall on her face. You know, she held up. Um, it wasn't a disaster. Okay,
No, it wasn't a disaster.
so. I think it's basically a debate was basically a push. You know, he got stuff out that he wanted to get out. She showed that she could hold frame. So I think it's a push. So we have to see where she goes from there. All we wanted to see whether she was actually going to melt down or not, and she didn't. So this is really a test for her.
Okay, you think they're going to debate again?
I don't think she will do another one. I think she got through this one, so I don't think she'll do another one because she tried to get out of this one.
Oh well, actually, a better question would be: do you think she'll do another interview again? She better, but yeah.
You know what? It depends on how they can juice the polls.
Okay.
But I think Trump came. I think he lost a little frame a little bit is
Yeah,
because he
he
tried to.
made mistakes, no, without question. Yeah.
Yeah, he got lost frame. Yeah, I don't think it was because of her. I think he lost frame with the moderators. He got
Yeah.
pissed a few times, and he went into Trumpism. But basically, that's just the thing is people are used to his style. That's
Yeah,
the thing.
that's true.
Okay, so they're trying to say that he's supposed to be this presidential. Uh, uh, he's not J.D. Vance. Let's put it that way. That's not
Right.
who he is. Okay, and this is his style, and he interjected a lot of stuff that they actually wanted again, like bringing up Afghanistan, right about the point where he threatened threatened one of the caliphs. Yeah, threatened the Taliban, right? Okay, which is out there, right? Which most people don't know. Springfield, which most people don't know. Aurora is out there, which most people they know, but the thing is, that's going to get around. That stuff will spread. So I see what he was doing. This for him, this debate was not about trying to beat her. I think it was about trying to get his stuff out.
Basically, seed planting.
He's seed planting. That's what I think. I'm sure the blue side is going to come say he got cooked and stuff like that. I don't think so. Okay.
No.
Seed planting is similar to what happened in 2016 because you remember he was planting seeds that were he said they were going to win the election and if they lose it's because it was rigged and stuff like that. Correct. Well,
Yeah.
He was priming people.
I'm sure. I'm sure he knew January 6th was going to come, and they were going to ask it, and they did. And one thing he did have an answer. Well, you might not have liked his answer.
Yeah.
Do I think he should have been impeached and gone to jail over January 6th? I do. Okay. The thing is, I would have brought up, hey, I stood trial for it by Congress, and Congress found me innocent. That's what I would have said. That's what I would continue to say. Go ahead.
Well, BGS, but I'm just wondering, do you think that he interrupted more than he was interjected upon?
Did he interrupt more as far as what?
As far as him being interjected upon when he was
No, I think she was pretty mousy. Okay, he had to tell her to shut up a couple times. She's pretty mousy. That's how come they cut the mics.
Ironically, he had the I'm speaking moment, but
Yeah, which is reverse, and she had to laugh. Okay, because that was supposed to be his forte of interrupting people. So I think it was a push.
Well,
Hold on, man. Okay, I had to give her kudos for holding frame. She didn't melt down, and she didn't look bad. She looked. She basically read her stump speech for the most part. So, and she didn't look overly nervous. So I say kudos to her.
Well, just last minute today, I was learning that apparently there was a side contract that was made that was basically like anytime somebody's making their statement or whatever, like the mics are to be muted. But if there's
The mics were well. That was the Biden agreement way before she even got.
well, I'm not talking about the Biden agreement. I'm talking about the Kamala Harris Trump like
Now,
debate.
if you listen to me for a second you know, instead of interrupting, I'll tell you the agreement with the agreement. This debate was actually scheduled before he was even named the nominee. Okay, the mics being shut off was part of the deal. Okay, in fact, she tried to renege on the deal about the mics being shut off. Okay,
Right.
so it wasn't a side agreement; it was part of the deal from the very beginning. Any other questions, sir? Where did the side deal come in?
The side deal I was thinking about was because you said this was said like this was agreed upon prior to, and I'll take your word for it. Like
I
I'll
mean,
take your
it's
word
it's
that
been she basically, if you go back and read it, she was trying to reverse that stipulation. Okay, go back and read it just a week ago. She's trying to reverse the stipulation so the mics could be shut back on, and they were saying that this particular annotations, this particular thing was actually put in before she was even nominated, because they did the same thing with the Biden Trump debate. Now, if you don't believe it, go back and read it for yourself.
well, like I watched the whole Biden Trump debate.
If you don't believe me, go back and read it for yourself, because she just tried to reverse just what you talked about. Okay?
No, I believe you. That's why I said I take your word for it. I believe you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know where the side deal came in.
That was before you just said what you just said. That's why I said that.
I know, but that's how come they say black folks don't read. But anyway.
Yeah.
By the way, Drake,
hold on, wait.
He's gonna ramble. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure. Butthurt Blue's gonna spend this. I can see it now that she won a debate. Yada yada yada.
Of course. Okay. The thing is, was she tested? Did she melt down? So in essence, that she didn't melt down. She held frame. She was a push. So that's a win for her.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that would be a win for her. Okay. She held frame. She didn't. She wasn't outstanding, but she wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back.
But they're going back and they're going to go back and say he was cooked, but I don't think so. I think he got his points across. He got some shots in, so vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back.
She probably should have went last, but yeah.
Should have been went. Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to go back and look at the actual debate because like the Trump and like Biden debate, like I watched the whole thing and that's when like most of the dudes that was like popping up, they were saying they didn't even watch it or they only watched a little bit, but I watched the whole thing when that happened. I didn't watch this whole thing. And the reason why I haven't watched this whole thing, so I was popping up like on different channels.
You need to go back and watch it again.
Go back and watch it.
I was trying to see it.
Okay, we got.
I was trying.
You're trying to see what, man? Let me finish.
I was trying to see the difference of opinion between like people that have different stances, like and stand with different parties and stuff, right? Because like, like the whole stereotype is that like BGS is he's a drone whisperer and
we don't care about we don't care. We care about all that kind of stuff, man. Well, we want to hear. What do you think about the debate? You got to stay on track, okay? Because you know what, Andre, okay? They hear you guys say this shit, right? And what happened Tuesday happens, okay? They hear you guys say this shit, okay? And now they don't come after you guys when you guys say. Do they ever get on a panel and blow up at you for you saying shit?
Well, what?
No. Do we ever get on the panel and blow up at you and cuss you out because you said shit?
Well, like what I was trying.
Hey, can you answer my question?
No, they do not do that because.
But guess who they pop up on the panel and cuss out because you said shit?
That's not the point that I was trying to.
No. Guess who they do? It could be that BGS is a drone whisperer, all that kind of stuff. Guess who they pop up on the panel and cuss out because you said something like that?
Well, it's going to be the person with the large audience.
No. In other words, they cussed me out, right? So can you kind of chill on that shit, okay? Chill on it, because I don't want to hear it.
Please, sir. He with the elders telling him, please, sir.
Because y'all gonna make me into somebody I don't want to be. Because the evil twin getting ready to come out. Because I'm tired of this shit. I'm getting tired of cussing people out. Okay, and then what's gonna happen is I'm not gonna be on fucking panels no more. Okay, that's what's gonna start happening. Is that what you guys really want?
No.
Hold on. I'm asking Andre. Is that what you want?
No, that's not the case at all.
No. Okay, well then you need to stop passing this shit along. I don't care what they said about me. Okay, if I wanted what they said about me, I would watch their fucking channel. Okay. So they've been saying shit about me since I fucking got on YouTube, right?
That's not what I'm saying.
Andre, okay, all right, squash it.
Okay.
There's nothing to squash.
Andre.
Okay. I'll boot up a channel. We can talk about it, Andre. Find out why is it so interesting to you to keep this shit going.
Please, you gonna have to, BGS, because he's not letting this go. This is going on. Now, Andre. Hold on, let me get this out. Come back and forth, and you want to come and play Run and Tell It. And then when you go play Run and Tell It, you go listen somewhere else and play Run and Tell It. But all the backlash of this shit is coming back on the master educator. We need you to stop this bullshit, sir. Please.
I need you to stop fucking
No. We can go right now. We can have this out, Andre. I'm serious about it because I had this talk with AB. Right? AB understands. Okay. So in other words, if they had an opinion about the debate that was different, then fine. Do not bring up my name in this negative light. Okay. Is that understood?
It's understood, but
thank you. Ain't no buts. Is that understood?
I wasn't bringing up your name in a negative light.
You just. All right, Andre, go ahead, man. What you gonna talk about now? What opinion did they bring up about this debate?
I don't know and I don't care.
Then what do you? Would stop bringing my name up about me being a drone whisperer? Okay. Well, I don't like. Number one, I don't like because guess who the drone is that they're talking about.
That would be me. And
that would be you. Thank you. So please, okay, I'm asking you, okay? Because I don't. Andre
got accused of being a drone, and AB got accused of being a drone behind this, and I really don't appreciate it. I'm trying to be level-headed.
All right. Andre, squash it, okay? Squash it. Feel me?
I have nothing to squash.
Thank you. No. All right. You know what? You can do it. I'll bounce out, man. You can do it someplace else. I don't want to hear this shit.
No. I never had a problem with you.
Squash it, Andre. Cut it.
Squash it.
Go ahead, AB. Jesus Christ.
What's going on, number 2?
Yep.
Your thoughts?
She didn't crash and burn, but I mean, she didn't say anything as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but the whole debate was, can she hold up and can she do it without crashing and burning, because she hasn't been out in public. So that's a win for her, in my opinion.
Yeah, she had plenty of time to rest.
She did. She had plenty of time to rest. But the thing is, had she fallen on her face, this race would be over, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people would be dropping like a fly. But I mean, the stuff that she was saying. I mean, again, she still wasn't. Yeah, I mean, Trump's last point was pointed because it's true. You were there 3.5 years, and you're currently there right now. So why haven't you done anything? And I would have asked, what are you doing right now? Because you are in office right now. I mean, if I truly believe, even if I'm vice president, if I truly believe that I'm going to win, I'm still going to put things in place. So even if I lose, it doesn't matter. I'm still going out. I'm still going out like a winner. Period. Point blank. Because I would just tell people, we already put stuff in place. But obviously, we are not going above the rules. We are definitely not going above our president. We are just preparing right now for the transition. These are the policies that we are putting in. These are the policies that we are prepared to put in place. She really doesn't have any policies. I mean, she's talking about Okay, so she talks about housing, and this is what the Democrats do. Because I mean, they pretend not, maybe they really don't know much about economics, but they're at least pretending that they don't. Because they're only talking about the demand side. They're not talking about the supply side. They're not talking about what the states are doing. They're not talking about the cost. They're just saying, she's just saying, we're going to dump $25,000. Where's it going to come from? And that's not going to decrease the prices.
How are you going to build $3 million house, 3 million houses, and when you have houses on the bank's balance sheet, it's going to negatively affect the banks? You think that's really going to happen?
Exactly. Oh, she's talking about, okay, so we're going to bring inflation down. We're going to bring the cost down. Okay, under your administration, these are the highest inflation rates that we've seen since Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Factually.
Okay, Carter wasn't this high.
Exactly. I mean, that was as close as that's the closest that we've seen in our quote unquote modern time. So what have you been doing? Okay, the other thing is she said, okay, well, the prices of oil, they went down. Well, actually, the second thing that President Biden signed was to get rid of to stop the oil production or the pipeline over there. What was it, Midwest?
Mm-hmm.
I'm forgetting the name of it, but that was the second thing he signed. And the only reason why the prices went down with oil is because they damn near depleted our reserves. That's what she didn't say, and unfortunately, that's what Trump didn't say, because that's what I would have said. I said, yes, we are pumping a record amount of oil because you guys have depleted our reserves. And I would have given the source. Here's the source right here from the EIA. What are we talking about here? Like, you haven't done anything. Oh, the prices of healthcare has gone down. No, it has not. It has actually gone up. What are you talking about? Again. And I would have brought up the stats. That's what I would have done. I wouldn't have gone after them personally at all. I would have been prepared for all the stuff, because she really didn't say anything new. I would have already known what she was going to say. Mm-hmm. I would have been prepared. I would have been real quiet with a smirk on my face the whole entire time. And as soon as it was my turn, I would have just demolished it with policies and facts. Point blank, period.
But
that's what I would have done.
I think it was because a lot of it was, if you look at this presidency, there's a lot more failures than a motherfucker. And not that I'm hoping, because I'm one of those people who think that the last person you want to fail is your president.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So when you look at this presidency, it's been a lot of failures. You put us back in 2007. You put us back in the 2 wars. You put it, and what's worse, the economy's worse now than we were back then.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that. And everybody, well, you don't like Kamala because she's a woman. Yeah, maybe not, maybe so, whatever. I'll give you that one. I don't care if you're a female or not. Are you competent? And last time I checked, when I asked people this, how many female leaders actually do a good job? Should we vote her in because she's a woman, or she could do the damn job? What's more important?
Well, I mean, she was focusing on, which I'm not surprised, abortion again. And it's like, if she kept on saying, she's saying the same thing that he's saying that he's against. The man has said it how many times? Yeah. It is going to the state. Like, why, in my opinion, why are we still talking about this? It's going to the state. I still support
hold on, wait a minute. Not just that, Salty. Not just that.
Project
2020. But, hold on, wait a minute.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, let me get in for a minute. The Republicans, that believe it or not, Republican voters already weighed in on this, because a lot of people forget Mike Pence ran on a national abortion ban, and what happened to him during that primary?
Oh, he got slaughtered. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this has been decided by the country, in my opinion. So I don't know why they're still talking about it.
Because it's a nothing burger, but it's a dog whistle. That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, dog whistle. Yeah.
It's a dog whistle. It's dog whistle so that your base and your females can get out and vote for you. That's what it's just dog whistle. Even though, like I said, at this point, Congress is not going to even look at it, because why get your hands dirty when they can leave it up to the states? It's already been pushed back to the states. Okay. And that's what that's what I would. That's what if any female that came up and talked about I got abortion in my state said, well, most of your voters are female. How come y'all don't vote it in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But and now they have what 10 state initiatives just this election cycle
Yeah.
to actually reverse abortion. So
yeah, and to Trump's
reverse it.
credit, he actually pointed out how some red states voted the other way.
Yes. Yeah. Basically now it's up there. Now it's in women's hands instead of it being automatic. So
exactly.
So and that's that's part of states' rights. So and that's all that's all the Supreme Court did was push it back to the states. Now it's your problem.
Well, the scary thing. I mean, again, this is why I couldn't be. I would rather be in the shadows anyway, but I couldn't be up front because I'd just be an asshole. Well, I mean, since we're talking about rights, technically by law, rights are privileges, and privileges can be taken. How about that?
Yeah.
Factually speaking.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really want to talk.
Hey, BGS, believe it or not, conveniently yesterday, Kamala Harris has put some policies on her website.
Yeah. Oh, she had to. Yeah. Yes. It just automatically showed up. She had somebody sent it to me.
I was prior.
Yeah, it was probably me, but yeah.
No. Somebody mentioned it just before you. Yes, I said it was. Yes.
Take a look at it.
There you go.
Right now.
I didn't.
He's looking at it right now. Yeah.
Can you read out loud?
But the thing is, if it happens just before the debate, that's a bad look, though.
I want to vote on the ability to kill a baby. Yay! Even though I got 33 different.
Build an opportunity economy and lower cost and lower cost for families.
Okay, these are vision statements. Okay, these are not plans.
I'm still in that. Vision statements.
Yeah, they're vision. That's what they call vision statements. Yeah.
Yeah. Cut taxes for the middle class.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what it says.
What?
Cut taxes for middle class families.
This is the guy that basically basically pass a law, help pass a law to look into what your bank statement when you actually move more than $600.
Exactly.
Yeah, really? Okay.
I'm not going to go through the details.
You're gonna get chewed. They get into taxes, they're gonna get chewed up, man, about all the stuff that Biden passed.
Yeah, make rent more affordable and home ownership more attainable.
Do it now.
Well, the thing is basically what they could do, what I would do. Okay, the Republicans have a bill to actually get the big funds, the big fund people out of buying homes. Right, there's three big ones, right, and actually sell these homes off and put these homes back on the market to lower prices. Right, and those are Republicans. Okay, these are not Democrats. Okay,
it's basically BJ's talk about private equity.
Private equity, sorry.
Private equity.
I'm sorry.
No, you're correct.
No. But basically, you I defer to you, man, because it's your business.
The thing is, the difference is the reason why I get more specific because as opposed to just saying like banks are highly regulated as opposed to the private equity, which is a lot of stuff you really because it's private, so you can't see the stuff, and they by law are not bound by the same rules by banks.
Right.
So that's why that's important.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I said about banks is that a lot of your mortgages are on banks' balance sheets. Okay,
absolutely. Yes.
And if she builds, how are you gonna build? Okay, say you do put by some miracle you can build 3 million homes. Okay, when you're already 5 million short, so you're still 2 million short as far as housing stock. But and you brought in 8 million more people. So, but we'll leave that alone for now, right?
Yeah.
How are you gonna? How you gonna build 3 million homes? Okay, increase the supply against what the banks are holding. Right, that's gonna bring the price of housing down. What's they're gonna do to the banks? They're not gonna be too happy about that.
Yeah, let me get through this because Art's gonna start in a little bit. Grow small businesses and invest in entrepreneurs.
Okay, how's she gonna do that? These are vision statements.
Yeah.
Oh, she got a little deep. She got a little word salad to go with it, but
Okay.
You call it vision statement, BGS. She calls it policy. Ha.
Well, same. It depends on how you word it, man.
take on bad actors and bring down costs.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Hold on, that is so good.
If you go back to 2016, Trump said a lot of the same similar things. So this is like almost like boilerplate stuff that most presidents do say.
Yeah, and strengthen and bring down the cost of health care.
Yeah, it's boilerplate.
Protect and strengthen Social Security and Medicare. Who else said that? Oh, right. Anyway, support American innovation and workers. Duh.
Trump been saying that since before he even got in. But
provide a pathway to the middle class through quality, affordable education. Okay. Invest in affordable child care and long-term care. Okay. Lower energy costs and tackle the climate crisis. Interesting. Believe it or not, this is going. I already looked through this. This is going to become a theme right here.
What?
Trump Project 2025 agenda.
The thing is, he said on Lex Friedman. He said they asked him straight point blank about it. Right? I haven't read it. I haven't read it on purpose. Okay, it's because I know if I even look at it, they're going to accuse me of following it. So he said that.
But BGS, did you see how she seamlessly tried to throw the Project 2025 at him?
Yeah, of course.
Throw the. I was like, is she on?
No, basically, this is a war of attrition. So they were throwing shots at each other. So that was expected.
Yeah. Safeguard our fundamental freedoms. Oh, they've been doing a good job of that. Restore and protect
reproductive freedoms.
Reproductive freedoms. Protect civil rights. Now, I actually read through this a little bit. They're talking about the legitimate, but anyway.
Civil rights.
It didn't apply to black people. Okay.
I don't think the word black is mentioned in this section.
No, it probably is not. That's probably why her father's not speaking to her, but it's okay.
Ooh. But once again, Trump Project 2025 agenda.
Okay.
A little section on that. Trump's going to, in other words, be afraid, be very afraid. But anyway, ensure the safety and justice for all. Okay. Make our communities safer from gun violence and crime.
Good luck with that.
Okay.
Here's an interesting one. Secure our borders and fix our broken immigration.
They said Trump made phone calls to kill the border bill. Okay. Has anybody ever come out and said that they actually said that he made a phone call to them?
I haven't heard anybody say that.
That's what I'm saying. They keep saying it.
I laughed at that. BGS.
Yeah. Because they keep saying it. They keep saying that he purposely made phone calls, okay, to the delegates, and I never heard that. So I never heard that somebody come and say it.
Someone made a very valid point. What does it say about you and your political power? That a former president got more power than you?
Well, they're trying to cover up their missteps on him, okay, with the border. And that's like the thing is, her bringing it up actually allowed him to interject the Springfield, Ohio.
Yep.
That hasn't been proven. Man, that shit's out there, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like Willie Horton is alive.
Yeah. No, I already was talking to somebody about that on Facebook, and they said it's been fact checked. Like, okay.
It's been fact checked. I mean, I played. That's why I played it. This dude said I haven't seen reports of that. I played the city council meeting. The dude complaining about it. Said I don't know how much fact checks you've been doing.
Business. You need to stand on business.
Yeah, you stand on business. Yeah.
Secure. Oh, I already read that. Tackle.
I watched an ABC clip about that as well when they were interviewing agents and stuff. Like.
Yeah, let me get through this namer. Tackle the opioid and the fentanyl crisis.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna stop.
Ensure no one is above the law. You know, that's a section on credit. Yeah. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's on Trump. Yeah.
Trump Project 2025 agenda again. You ever notice that you hear Project 2025 more when you looking at a Democrat thing, you looking at a Republican thing? Anyway, keep America safe and secure and prosperous. Stand with our allies and stand up to dictators and lead on the world stage. Yep, sounds about right considering who's backing her. Invest in America sources of strength. In other words, overthrow. Let me shut up. Support service members, veterans, their families, caregivers, and survivors. Okay. Are you going to put them up in those hotels instead of migrants? Let me shut up. Trump's Project 2025 again, and I believe that's it.
That's it. Okay. Well, at least it's there now. So we
I
can
think
kind of
the reason it took so long is she wanted to take. She was probably going to be like that's the West man saying, take your time and do it right. That's why it took so long.
You got $300 million and you got all kind of staff. Doesn't take that long to put up a policy. Okay.
Mm-hmm. If y'all want to read it, you can.
Especially if you've been in office as a VP for 4 years, it doesn't take that long.
Biggest thing that's on her neck, like that's like if you look at a motherfucker who's been in a job and be like, yo, how you do this? I don't know. Isn't it your job? I don't really do my job. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible of how much she was allowed to get away with. Like when you saw Joe Biden as VP, you saw him everywhere.
He was handling his business. Even when he was slowly deteriorating.
When you saw even when you saw Dan Quayle, you saw that motherfucker everywhere.
Maybe this is her coming out party. Maybe they'll take the bubble wrap off her now.
Maybe.
Because
I doubt it.
Alexa plays.
No, what I'm saying, if she debated, then she has no excuse to not sitting down for an interview. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And if she goes back to hiding again, then yeah, that's not going to look too good.
Yeah. He's going to have to answer tough questions and go into enemy territory.
Yeah.
She's going to have to, because they're going to be lingering over her head.
Yeah, I wonder what would happen if the debate was done by Fox instead of ABC.
Oh, that would be interesting.
I have a question for you guys. How do you guys think she overall handled the debate?
I think she did it well. I really do. I would. Did she knock it out of the park? She hit a home run. No, but I think she hit a ground rule double. Okay.
She was decent.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was decent. Yeah.
Was it funny because there were some?
She didn't convince me to vote for her, but
No. The thing is, everybody's wondering, is she gonna hold up because she hasn't spoken, she hadn't been out in public, she had the bubble wrap on. If you take the bubble wrap off, will she fall apart? And she didn't. So that's a win for her, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is
President build off that as well?
Now is plan? No, but.
I mean, her playing him even is basically all that she needed, because they're gonna run with it.
How do you guys think Trump did?
I think Trump is Trump. I think one he didn't melt down like they thought he would. Okay, he was pretty. For the most part, I say 80% of the time he was composed. I think there was a couple times that the the moderator got on his nerves. Okay. And he wanted to go off the moderator, but he did rein it back in. So they didn't get him to melt down like they thought he would, and he didn't. And he got a few shots. He got a few shots in. Okay, so I thought he did fairly well. I would put it as a push. I wouldn't say that he knocked it out of the park and he killed her.
No, he didn't knock it out of the park. No,
but he held frame, and so did she. So I think it was a decent debate for the most part. I mean, they got their shots in. I think what it showed is that she with the shit too, because she's calling names and bringing up stuff like that, which is in his ballpark. Okay, so if I were her, I wouldn't debate again, because he'll be ready, because he was trying to stay on policy and stay from from actually saying accusatory stuff. But thing is, you brought it out in him, so.
Yeah.
So the shots she took, she deserved. So and vice
Yeah.
versa. Go ahead.
Well, especially when he said when she was at a sorority party.
Oh yeah. instead of meeting with Netanyahu, yeah, that was fucked up.
Well,
she shook her head. She couldn't say anything. She didn't rebut either. So
Yeah, because your ass was at that party.
Hey, what's going on, Lewis?
He actually kind of left.
what's going on?
You wanted to chime in?
I'll let the other guys finish first.
Okay.
Okay.
Lewis sounds like he's at work.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Laughed a little bit because
He's closing.
like goddamn patrons. Get the fuck
Yeah,
out.
I think.
The last shoppers out.
Yeah, if I was Trump, I wouldn't went on that. I know the guy probably should never ask the question, but that spiel about who won the election, I would have just like, yeah, he won the election. Let's move on. But he's Trump.
Okay, he had to answer that. Okay, he
Yeah.
had to answer it. He couldn't dodge it. He couldn't say move on. He had to give an answer. And I thought, he let it go on, but I thought with him offering the National Guard, okay, as
Yeah.
security that he asked that he wanted to call for, and they refused it. Okay, well, then that's a pushback. So he did answer it. So when it comes up again about January 6th, okay, and they said, well, what you didn't do anything. He said that you had to talk to Pelosi. You got to talk to the mayor of D.C. Okay, so he did. So I think that was a push. So I think he handled it. It didn't get him. He didn't blow up. He didn't get upset. He didn't. So I think he was prepared for it. So I think it was a push.
And
But it had to be answered. Because in my opinion, I feel about it, motherfucker. You should have gone to jail for that shit. But that's me.
BGS, I give him an A- for composure because with it being all in all, he composed himself very
He was
well.
very well. Yeah.
He didn't go expect that out of him. I give him a good A- for that.
Okay, go ahead, James. You said
I was
one.
gonna say, I was gonna say, how he ended off when it came to the election situation. He was like, well, that's the past. Let's move forward. He had some good rebuttals. He had some good ways of closing out.
With the election thing, okay, January 6th is going to always come back that you was in the center of it, okay? You can't get past that, right? Yep. Okay? And they said, but the thing is, the mistake that the moderator asked him, he said, how could you, it seemed like you went away, you weren't concerned, blah, blah, blah. And he had a perfect answer. I said, I thought it was going to be a big protest. I was willing to give them 10,000 National Guard troops. Yeah, and no, I was willing to give you 10,000 National Guard troops, and Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C. turned it down. So what else can I do?
And
so
you can fact check that too.
He did do it, and that's on record. So even though motherfucker, you did throw Molotov cocktail in the middle of that crowd and didn't stir them up. Yeah, you did. So, but the thing is, you do have an out, and the thing is. It keeps coming up. I would, especially when all the Republicans are on side. I said, well, you're the motherfuckers that let him go in the first place. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. We'll see
At least
what
he
happens.
wasn't wearing the bandage on his ear.
We'll see. We'll see if she'll do another interview. Now I did hear that apparently she did an interview with Ricky Smiley.
Did she?
I guess they haven't released it, but
he's basically he's part of the Divine Nine, so he's one of her supporters. So it made sense.
So
I'm sure he was dancing for joy.
Yeah.
It raises his profile. So yeah.
So little Daryl interviewed her. So take that however you ever want to take it, but I'm sure there'll be gloats about how well she did and stuff. But it is what it is. Either Trump will win or he won't.
Yeah, I really just wanted to see how well she would do. We knew what Trump would do for the most part. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see how well she held up, and she held frame. So that's kudos to her. Because she's the unknown quantity. Trump was just being Trump. So Trump. They said, well, Trump is gonna go all wild and stuff like that. He won an election and damn near won another one election by with his style. That's not. him being cold and calculated stuff like that. That's not him. Okay.
He's bombastic.
He is
He's loud.
bombastic.
He's
Yeah,
bombastic.
And he toned it down. I mean, he could
he
have,
did.
he could have really went way off left. Okay, him rambling, he rambles. Okay, well, she
Yeah,
rambled too, so it's not
yeah,
like,
she did.
But
like,
he's
I think he
yeah,
has some.
he's like tempered down as he's gotten older in a sense.
I think he has some very
Think
key
about
points
it.
when he talked about. I mean, one that stuck out to me. I'm surprised that he brought. He's like, oh, I basically took a bullet to the head for this country, and
yeah,
I'm willing. And I'm willing. Basically, I'm willing to. I'm willing to
Yeah,
sacrifice even more.
yeah,
yeah,
Which
yeah. That's true.
that was a very bold statement in my opinion. Like
yeah,
that's basically reflecting. I'm ready to go. I'm going to ride all the way out for this country to save it.
yeah.
Yeah,
You can't have a comeback for
yeah.
that. It's like, oh
No,
shit, nah,
no,
nothing
no.
like I ain't do nothing like that. Okay, let me just keep my mouth shut.
And I said, don't call it a comeback.
Yeah.
I've been here for years. Okay.
Motherfucker, I've been shot for real. Like shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And she did come back, so whatever.
Is he trying to compare himself to 50 or to 50 Cent or Tupac on that one?
Yeah, I think somebody said that he had her on the ropes and he didn't follow through. I don't think he was trying to destroy her. I think what he was trying to do is get his points across, okay, through the media.
If
So
he
I
want,
think he was trying to. He's planting seeds. So like say like
Getting
like the
people
one
fired.
thing the one thing I didn't think would get out was the Springfield thing and migrant thing. I think that would actually get
yeah, I
out,
didn't think that get out either.
but that got out. Okay, that's gonna be a problem going forward for them.
They'd be like, damn, like now all of a sudden you got a bunch of fucking food trucks from Haiti and shit. Now you like, no.
Yeah, because stuff like that, whether it's true or not true, stuff like that spreads like wildfire, right? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because I just heard about it a couple days ago, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's everywhere now. So now it's gonna, people gonna run back and start fact checking. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
this food is
Man,
the now.
man, if I were in that camp, man, we getting some drones. It's that simple. We getting some drones and we gonna get some live footage.
oh yeah, well yeah,
End of story.
it's already been on Twitter, through X and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna be everywhere.
Yep.
And that's why I pulled in I think it was Adrian sent it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I pulled it right up on as soon as homeboy said. That's how I stopped. I stopped the show. Okay, because I didn't bring it up. I said she brought it up. I didn't bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then he said what hasn't been reported or verified. Brought it right up. And there's a story, and there's a dude inside the city council meeting complaining about the same shit. I don't know how. What more evidence do you need?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you do you still have that link?
Yeah. You want me to email it to you? Or you just want to pull it up?
Um, Email it to me
Oh,
because
okay. I just forwarded
I'm
it to you.
BJS. I'll
It's
speak on this
the link you're
when it
talking about.
comes.
The one with the
Uh,
city
uh,
council
uh,
stuff. Z has it on one of his on his recent live
Well,
stream because he was
I-
addressing this earlier
I'll
today.
say I'll say this with the whole eating cats and dogs, and I said this in the email, right?
mm-hmm.
And I've even gone through a lot of back and forth with fellow Haitians.
Mm-hmm.
um, do they probably eat? Are Haitians known to eat cats and dogs? No, but in
Okay.
our culture,
Mm-hmm.
anytime you hear Haitians involved with cats, dogs, any type of animal, it is for a ritual practice,
Yeah, I
Okay.
was about to say. Yep. Yep.
Voodoo.
voodoo practice, man.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where I don't know why there were many people in my family like, oh, Trump's racist. I said, come on, let's keep it 100.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I speak from experience on my father's side.
Okay.
They practice that stuff. So
Okay.
this notion of that this, or the offense that people took, I'm like, come on, man. Like most Haitians know what they doing with them cats and dogs.
Okay.
If them
We had this got to be in the 80s. Okay, with the Vietnamese, where the cats in San Francisco, where the
hmm
cats and dogs were disappearing because they were eating them. Okay,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
they do eat them where they are. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
yes.
sorry.
Real quick.
Oh, Filipinos. No, no,
Hold on.
Filipinos.
No,
Real
no,
quick.
no, no. I mean California, bro. So it was Vietnamese. Okay,
Yeah. All
I know
right.
what the
Real
fuck I'm
quick.
talking about.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you're not even old enough to even question me about that shit. Okay,
All right. All right. Hold
go ahead.
on. Hold on. I got 162 watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit the
BGS
chat.
tax.
It hits the cash app, support the show, BGS tax in effect, and
$1 holla. Okay.
And Art's live now, so.
Okay, all right. So but basically, okay, like I said, this has come up before. Okay, when the boat people from Vietnam came over into California, especially in the in the late '80s, in the late '70s, early '80s, there was issue about cats and dogs disappearing, and they were eating them. Okay, they had to socialize them into not doing that. Okay. And Asians, all Asians eat they eat all kinds of meat, rats, dogs, all kind of shit. So, it's no big deal. So,
I also might recall, like, I remember reading this and studying this. There's something similar like this. I mean, regarding, like you said, like James said about like voodoo practices and such. I think it was, but it wasn't voodoo. It was either they were Puerto Rican or Cuban with Santeria. But and this was in Florida, but they were saying, but they were properly disposing of the animals according to with health guidelines and whatnot. But people were still making fuss about it. And there was this debate about religious debate between religious practices and such.
And how white folks feel about their pets.
Oh yeah, true.
And to BGS point, let me get this out. To your point, what you were saying, y'all was experiencing that in California and down here in Southeast Texas, around the Galveston Bay City and all that.
Oh yeah, remember that? Remember that? AB? I mean AL. Remember that?
Yes, sir, I do. I remember seeing that stuff on TV. They kept having what it wasn't like an epidemic, but what was going on is it was getting reported within our communities that these same people who were also running a restaurant when they would run on product. Because it reached all the way into my town, Austin, Texas, because we got a restaurant that every black person in Austin, they swear by. But guess what? When we found out what was going on there, how that business just dropped straight to and they still, because they own the property. I don't know how they finagled it because it's in a shopping plaza, but they own that one piece of that their establishment. And they couldn't even run them off when they went down. So yes, that is true. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
In the early 80s, they had an epidemic of the Vietnamese. They would kill dogs and cats, hunt them down, go send kids out, find strays, bring them in, and that's what they were doing. So yes, this is no lies we're telling y'all people. You have to be old enough to understand some things.
Yeah. And they sent them to sensitivity training and all kind of crap. So after a while it went away. So but the thing is that
it's normal to eat a dog
and cat. Yeah. So
they don't have a problem. But the Anglo-Saxon and Peter, oh no, they frown on over here in the West.
Yeah. They rather starve than eat a dog. So I'm sure the Haitians, if they get hungry, they may or may not do it. I've never heard of Haitians eating, pets, but it's not unusual. So, and I'm sure that this is I've never heard it from immigrant populations, right? So, so whether it's true or not, and people are complaining about it. So evidently, there's something to it. Like them killing. Like there's a picture of them bringing home a geese that they caught out of the pond.
You stand.
Anyway, we got to make room for Art, right, AB?
Yeah. Real quick, what's going on, Snowman?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Just thought I'd pay you a quick visit because I just got done with my game. A's won 4-3 in 12 innings.
Oh, goddamn. Okay.
Yeah, I was paying attention to you guys in the debate. I just couldn't join because I was running another program.
Okay.
To stream the game, and I'm taking your advice, BGS. There are some games I'm going to stream on my Patreon. I put the idea out there. If I can, real quick, AB, can I throw my Patreon in the chat before I go to bed here?
Yeah, because we're about to shut down anyway.
All right, cool. I'll throw my Patreon up here.
Y'all go over to Arts.
Okay.
All right.
By the way, Snowman, I got a question for you.
Talk to me.
Well, you know that the A's are going to be relocating to
Las Vegas. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard about this, but the Possums that reside inside the Oakland Athletic Stadium recently in San Francisco, they were picketing outside against the move. and the local raccoon population was protesting with them in solidarity.
Oh, geez.
I don't know if you heard about that.
Oh, geez.
I'm like this.
This is weird.
Cats and dogs in Ohio protests?
No, possums in Oakland protesting. And raccoons with them in solidarity.
I mean, I'm just looking at this shit like.
How many times? Wait a minute. I gotta leave y'all with the sound, and I got the perfect sound because I paid attention to the chat while the debate was going on, and I have a question for everybody in the chat and on the panel. How many times when Kamala spoke did you want to say out loud, "Now that is some bullshit"?
A lot of times.
Every single time she spoke. No, man. Every single time she spoke, I wanted to say that line.
I'll say it for you.
Now that is some bullshit.
Yeah, all right, y'all. We need to get out of here because Art's already started, and I'd like to thank everybody that came through. This is AB Media 83, and I'm out. Peace.
And we are too.
Hit the Cash App and support the show. This is a good show.
Yep.
Yo, this is AB Media 83. Want to support the channel? Hit the Cash App. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the video. Also, be sure to hit that bell notification so you can be notified next time I upload a live stream or video. And always remember, keep it grinding, keep it pushing, keep it moving. This is AB Media 83, and I'm out. Peace.